All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to be getting started in about 5 minutes or so. Today's conversation is going to be around growing up Muslim with Sister Iola Ameedah Corbett. So we are so excited to have her. We're going to be talking about everything growing up Muslim. So 5 minutes or so, we're going to be getting started. And yay, I'm so excited. She's just joining in. So we got everybody all set. We are going to be good to go. We're going to be good to go. So 5 minutes, you all. We're going to be getting started in just about 5 minutes. So you can share this out on your Facebook pages, share this out in your groups. How often is it that we actually have a conversation like this? How often is it the opportunities that we get to actually sit at the feet of those who have done so much for the community, and we get to actually learn from them and ask them questions and do all of the good things, right? So I'm super excited about what we're going to hear tonight, and I'm also excited about us being able to connect to one another and go from there. All right, you all. So starting in just about 2 minutes or so, and I will see you all soon. Type in where you're joining us from. So let us know where you're joining us from as well. All right. Welcome for those who are just joining us. My name is Iola Ameedah Corbett. This evening, we're going to have a wonderful conversation with Sister Iola. We're going to be getting started in just a minute. I'm going to be bringing her in. But I want you all to share this out on your own pages and share it out in your groups and other places. All right, so we're going to get started in just about 1 minute or so. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Woo! We made it. Hey. All right. I love it. So good evening, everyone. My name is Iola Ameedah. I am the founder of the Power Author Academy and Book Power Publishing. We are a Detroit-based publishing company that helps entrepreneurs, that helps community members and individuals write and publish good books. So my job and my team's job is to help you get your ideas out of your head, down onto paper, and out there into the world. So we're really good at what we do, to give ourselves a pat on the back. We're really, really good at what we're doing. And we want to highlight some of our new authors and be able to share their amazing stories with you all. So over the span of this week, we have been meeting some of our authors. These are our power authors that will be graduating with their world release of their books on this Saturday, September 25th. This is their bestseller day. This is their launch day. This is their world premiere. This is their release. It's going to be this Saturday on September 25th. And you all are invited to come and take part. You're invited to celebrate the fact that we have 8 women of diverse backgrounds, 8 women of color who will be submitting their stories out there into the world of publishing and into society. So we are so extremely proud of them. And I don't know if you all have heard, but there is something going on right now called book banning. I wrote about it in my book, The Book Power Method. And it is where there are certain books that get banned by the governments in states or cities or municipal areas or such. And that's happening right now. So in New York and Pennsylvania, they have been banning some of the culturally relevant books. And it is extremely, I would say, you would think it would be odd for 2021 that they're actually banning books that speak to issues outside of certain backgrounds. But of course, it's not that surprising. But that's what's happening right now in 2021. September 2021, books are being banned from libraries. Books are being banned from public schools and such. So it's a big deal, and it illustrates to you the power of the written word. Why would a school district go so hard on banning a book about some diverse character? Why? It's because books have power, right? Books are one of the most powerful cultural tools that we have to educate, to motivate, to inspire, to teach, right? To push people in different directions, to change and mold the way that people think. So what our authors are doing with publishing their books is a big deal. Don't ever underestimate the power of sharing your own unique story, your life. And what our author this evening, Sister Iola Ameedah Corbett, the author of Growing Up Muslim and the Journey Continues, what she has done here is absolutely amazing. She is capturing the legacy of her growing up Muslim in the United States through the 50s, through the 60s, through the 70s, through the 80s, through the 90s, through the 2000s, through the 2010s, good God Almighty, and into the 2020s. Like, this is living history. So, Sister Iola Ameedah Corbett is a retired blue-collar worker and union leader from Detroit, Michigan. As a part of living history, Iola's unique life provides a priceless window into the lives of Muslim Americans, reaching back to the 1950s. Iola enjoys volunteering with the historic Masjid Wali Muhammad and other community programs. As a mom and grandmother, she loves spending time with her family and friends. One of her favorite spots to decompress and reflect upon life is at the beach. Growing Up Muslim is her first book, and it is an effort to preserve her legacy for her community. So let's welcome Sister Iola Ameedah Corbett, the Power Author Iola Ameedah Corbett, to the Power Author stage. All right, we're going to pretend you can hear everybody clapping for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. So welcome. I'm really excited to have you here. You know, this book, this Growing Up Muslim and the Journey Continues, I think that it is really important for communities who are on the fringes of society, you know, Nation of Islam, even Black Muslims as a whole. And I should say Muslims even as a whole in the United States, like these subcultures, these small groups that are outside of the mainstream. It's so important for us to share our stories. So, Sister Iola, you know, what made you now want to put the effort to go in and put pen to paper and actually do everything that had to be done in order to write this book, Growing Up Muslim?
Well, you know, I lived through all of those decades, and I've always heard you say you will forget it if you don't write it down. If you don't tell somebody, you'll forget it. And it's a lot of Muslims now. They don't know what happened in the 50s. They don't know what happened really in the 60s. So I wanted to record it. I wanted to make sure that my children have the legacy of looking back, and my grandchildren of looking back and saying, wow, this is my grandma. This is how she was raised. And a lot of times they can understand me better if they read my story.
Yeah. She said they can understand her better if they read her story. So I wonder, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, why do you think they can understand you better if they read it?
Because growing up in the Nation of Islam, it was just certain things that we did, it was certain things that we did not do, and a lot of that carried on with me with raising my children. And a lot of things that we did unquestionably, they're not doing that. They was like,
Mhm.
Ma, you was crazy.
Like what? Give me an example. Give me an example.
Because we believed what we heard with no questions. You
Mm,
know, we believed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, no questions asked.
mm,
We heard and we obeyed.
mhm,
Now that's not happening. You can hear it and hear it and hear it, and you can tell your children, and they're hearing it, but they're not obeying. They are questioning you. They're putting their own in there. You know,
mm,
so I wanted them to know that's why I can stick to my grounds.
mm,
That's why I can tell you, look, you shouldn't be doing some of this, or you shouldn't be doing. Now they're going to make up their own minds, and
mm,
that's all right. That's all
mhm,
right. But I want them to get some of the knowledge that I grew up with, because I grew up with it with my mom and with my dad,
mhm, mhm,
and then being around the elders in the community. I
mhm,
mean, we were sticklers for doing what we were told to do.
mhm,
I kind of have like two sets of children
mhm,
and grandchildren that grew up together. And my first set, you could tell them, go sit down over there, go do this, put your coat on. The second set, put your coat on, they're running all over the house. They're like, they were not listening. They were not listening. So I appreciate it. And I've enjoyed the journey of writing this book, because there's so many things, from going back to when you're 6 or 7 years old, a lot of things you don't remember. You don't
mhm.
remember. And I think a lot that I can remember. I
That
think
is
a
a
lot.
blessing because I tell everybody I be trying to remember like yesterday, and I be like, dang. And this lady and wrote a whole book of memories growing up Muslim. So, okay, take us back to the beginning because your parents converted to Islam when you were very, very young. How old were you when your
I
parents?
was about 7 years old. I was
Okay.
about 7 years old, and I had always gone to church with my dad.
Mhm.
Not that I knew what was going on. I just went with him. I was kind of a daddy's girl. And my mom wasn't much of a churchgoer. So, and then he took me to the temple, and it was totally different. And I talk about it in my book, how totally different it was.
Mhm.
But he said that he had been he had a barbershop, and people had been coming by his barbershop inviting him to the temple, which was
Mhm.
right around the corner from where his barbershop was. But he never wanted to go until this one little sister came in and invited him. And she was like, if I go with you, will you go with me? And he was like, that blew him away. He said, well, goodness, if she's going to go with me, then I have to go with her. And
Mhm.
so that's how he got to the temple. That's
I
how he
love
got.
these stories because they are so interesting. I want to pause for one moment for those of you who are just joining us. We are speaking to Iola Ameedah Corbett, who is the author of, there we go, author of Growing Up Muslim and the Journey Continues. So you can buy her book this Saturday on our bestseller release day. We're going to release her book on Saturday. Go to Amazon and get it on this Saturday so you can help her get to #1. We want her to be in the top 20 on Amazon on that day, right? So we want her to get to be a bestseller. So we need you all to go purchase it on Saturday, 3 p.m. We're going to have another graduation where you'll be able to meet all the other authors as well and get some goodies, all types of things. If you want to win, register at powerauthoracademy.com/graduation, and you'll be able to win some of our prizes. But one of the takeaways that I took away so far from what you said was in the notion of this discipline that you all had in your community, being able to follow leadership, being able to listen and obeying, being able to hear things and then taking action. And you mentioned that you've seen some differences in the generations. with
Right.
some people not really having that same discipline and being able to listen and then, take action or so. And then the second thing, I'm really thinking about your parents, because during this time, this was a heavy time. The 40s, the 50s, there's a lot going on with race relations in the United States. There's a lot going on now, but at that moment, it was really a heavy time. And so for your parents to come into Islam, do you have any idea as to why, what your father heard at the temple that attracted him? Did he ever talk about it?
Yes. Um, uh, as you know, or you will know, that I put his autobiography in the back of my book. And he talks about how he grew up in Mississippi. And he was like, he was born in 1913. So say 1920, he was in grade school. So they had to walk to school. And he would say that the Caucasian kids would throw rocks at them and call them names. So this stuck with him like all of his life. It stuck with him. And so when he came to the temple that particular day, Malcolm X was speaking. And some of the things that Malcolm was saying about Caucasian people, it resonated with him, because he was like, these people have treated me so bad, treated us so bad. So I understood myself after reading his autobiography why he gravitated to the Nation of Islam, because they were telling you that the white man was not good to you, especially in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he heard that, that was it. That very first time that he heard Malcolm, he joined. And I tell in the book that this little lady had also invited my mom, but he didn't know it. And so they both heard Malcolm X at the same time.
Wow.
And yeah, they hold him. And he would say he went home and he cleared his refrigerator of all the pork and all the pork products, and he started his life being Muslim. He started his, and so I'm seeing all of this. I'm seeing all of this. And so it has resonated with me all of my life.
Wow. Okay, so 7 years old, you have been going to the church up to that point. You're still young, 7 years old, that's a very early age. And then he takes you to this strange place, which turns out to be this temple, or such. And so, what were the thoughts that were going on in your head? When you were looking around at these people, they may be dressed a little different. You sitting there for a long time. What were the thoughts going on in your head? Uh-oh.
That's what it,
Uh-oh, hold on 1 second. Let me see what the power go out. What? I think did our power go out? No. Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Let's see why. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Hold on.
We're holding on.
Okay.
All right.
We have light?
Yes.
Woo! Okay. That was strange. Strange happening. Okay, so so you're 7, you're coming over to this strange place or whatever. What was the reaction for you?
Well, first of all, they searched you when you went in. So that was different from my dad too, to be searched when you go in. Mm-hmm. And then they were saying these strange greetings for you. It wasn't just hello, how you doing? It was some greetings that I had never heard of. Mm-hmm. And, so that was that was all different for me and I remember this as a child, you know, that was, and so I'm just looking all around, and I remembered that uh, you know, back in the day when you went to the temple, you stayed a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and so that that got me, because the church was long too, but at the temple it was a long time. And my father didn't mind, but you know, I'm a little 7-year-old, so I know I'm squirming in there, trying to figure out, well, when will this be over? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people knew my dad because he was a barber, and they would see him going down, or when they would go down Russell Street. So so he was known for because he was a barber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So, you talk in the book about these notable figures that came to your family. 'Cause your family, I guess it seems like they were natural entrepreneurs. Your father was a barber, and then you guys started a restaurant or something. Can you talk to us a little bit about this restaurant that became one of the central places for the Muslim
Yeah.
community?
I'll start off with my dad and mom always had a restaurant, and they were right next door to each other. But the restaurant that they had, they were selling pork in there. So
Okay.
when he became Muslim, he shut it down. He shut it down. Of course, he kept his barber shop, but he went down the street, bought another little building, and with the barber shop and the restaurant right next door, he named it the Shabazz Restaurant. And that's where everybody who was anybody came to that restaurant.
Like
I
who?
first, I first, well, you know, I first um, kind of got up close with Malcolm X being an 8-year-old, because my dad would go to all of the conventions. So this one was in New York. So that's where I first saw Malcolm on, you know, on the rostrum teaching. Well, I'm sure I saw it before that, but that was right in his state, you know, right in his hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so um, after we got the restaurant, I think I was 10 years old. I had started Muslim school, and as I tell you in the book, we needed a minister. Brother Lemuel was retiring, and we didn't have a minister, and we had moved from uh, that Frederick Street. We moved to John C. Lodge,
Wait, you
and
mean the community? When you say we moved, you're talking about the community moved?
yes, the community moved.
Okay.
So when Malcolm came here that time, and he stayed for 30 days, he was going to help us get a new minister. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had sent him here so that we could get a new minister.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day he would come to my mom's restaurant. He would come to my mom's restaurant every day. I would serve him. He would eat dinner with my dad, and my mom was the cook. And my mom was
Your
the
mom was the cook.
and my
Wow.
mom was the cook. Yep, yep.
Mhm.
So so those were well, you know, I knew who he was, you know, from seeing him around, but the difference with being able to see him eating dinner, conversing with my dad, conversing with me, uh, that's altogether different than seeing him up on a rostrum.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a more personable side.
Oh
So I
yes.
hear a lot of our pioneers talk about the effect that Malcolm X had on them and their understandings of Islam and such. But one of the interesting things I always feel from the community is like it's a big deal to change your entire religion, like how you see God, how you see the world. And as you said, one of your goals of writing this book was to be able to explain to your children more about your inner ways, like how you do the things that you do or so. But I wonder, for you growing up, did you go to regular public schools? Like, how was that being in the regular general society, or did you always go to Muslim schools?
I went to regular public school until I graduated from the 5th grade. And so I started Muslim school at 10 years old over on, it was 5401 John C. Lodge. That's where the temple was at that time.
How
And
this lady remembered Hold on. I can't. This lady remembers the.
A lot of people don't remember that either. I've met big, huge people, big wigs, but they didn't remember that. They didn't remember I remember the address.
I truly believe that there are some people who are supposed to be griots. Like there are some people who are supposed to help capture. I didn't get that. My job was to help you griots bring it out because
All right.
I don't know how y'all remember that stuff.
All
So anyway,
right.
it was 5401, right? And so then you went to this Muslim school. Can you talk to us about the establishment? Like, why was it so important for your family to put you all into Muslim school?
After my mom and dad became Muslim with the Nation of Islam, they wanted to do everything that they were supposed to do, and they had this school, and they put me in it. I didn't even know. I just know when the bus came to pick me up that day, I hopped on that bus and had the longest ride in the world getting to 5401 John C. Lodge because we went to Mount Clemens to pick up people. We went to Roseville to pick up people, all around the east side, picking up people.
So for those outside of Michigan, let me just say these are like miles and miles and miles apart.
Yes, like 20 some miles away for Mount Clemens, and it was Muslim children out there. And I hopped on that bus that morning, not knowing anybody, but and by the time I got to school, I was sick of that bus ride. I was sick of the bus ride. Yep.
But I'm guessing you took that bus every day.
Every day they will come and pick me up because we had moved from our home, my childhood home, and we lived up over the restaurant. So it will come every day and pick me up and then drop me off in the evening. And it wasn't no big fee. They just wanted their children to be around Muslims and to be educated, in that era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like this is important because, when you're talking about education, I'll tell you, like for me personally, education has been one of the biggest struggles that I've had with being a parent is trying to identify the best schools for my children. You try one place, it doesn't work. You try another place, it doesn't work. So one of the interesting things about the community then is that you guys established your own community school and then you sent your children to that school. Now, when you were in, later on, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I'm just curious. Like, did you put your children into the Muslim schools or did you decide to go a different route for them?
No, they went to the University of Islam. Same school that I went to, the same building that I went to. They went to the school. And I had no, I was, you're kind of apprehensive because these are your little babies. And you just did not, I was sheltered. I was sheltered. So I wasn't out just in the, with a bunch of kids and stuff like that. My friends were Muslims, so, so I wanted them to go to Muslim school. And they did up until the school closed for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And my kids had to go to public school, and I was scared to death.
Why?
Because I just did not want them out there with everybody. I was like, no, these kids can't go here. They're gonna. And the first time I went, by that time my son was in. He was going to Redford, and I had to go up to school with him one day. And when I went in there and I listened to those kids, and I was like, oh my God. And he was like, Ma, it's okay. You might hear some stuff that you're not used to hearing, but it's all right. It's all right.
He's trying to prepare you.
Right. And my little children, they went to Cook School, and it was an excellent school in Rosedale Park. And I had 3 children in Rosedale Cook School. And I was so nervous about it. I got a job at the school so that I could be up there with them while they were there, so that I could know what was going on.
Yeah, the sacrifices that we make, right? To
Yes.
be able to
Yes.
see exactly. So, okay. So when you're thinking about, when you think back now, alhamdulillah, all praises to God, like you've had the ability to go through some decades. And I know I speak about your age a lot. That's because I love growing older, getting more mature. And I love the fact that at 76, you decided that you were going to write, because so many people, I hear some feedback, and hopefully it's okay. You guys can still hear us okay. But so many people have things that they could bring forward and share, and then they don't, right?
Right.
And then it end up like all of these rich stories, that the things that you remember, the little tiny details that you can fill in as far as what life was like for that group of Muslims growing up. Those things typically get lost. So I just want to give you like a shout out and a kudos and love and hugs and all of that for, really being serious about this and actually putting your pen to paper and getting your stuff out. So thank you, Mr. Iola.
Thank
Iola.
you. Thank
So,
you.
so what I'm wondering, for you is like, what is your major advice, to community members now? Like, what is something that you think we really should, the Muslim community I'm speaking of, and then we'll talk about the broader Black community, and then broader society, right? But from the Muslim perspective, what is something that you would advise we do?
Number one, you say this all the time: record your stuff, write it down, ask your elders what happened to them. How did they grow up? How did they get to be the way that they are?
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing, for the broader Islamic community, we need to know what happened in the 50s. We need to know what people went through to get us to where we are now, because it wasn't an easy road. It wasn't an easy road, and a lot of times we take things for granted. It's like, I didn't grow up going to a movie. I was grown when I went to the first movie that I went to. I didn't grow up eating pizza, or going to McDonald's. None of that. So we need to let the young people know, the millenniums, let them know, to find out from some of the older people what went down back then. What went down back then, because I can just see the faces of some of the people that are gone away that my mom was friends with. The sister who was the midwife lived at my parents' house, and she delivered a whole bunch of babies in our community. A lot of people don't know that. Her name was Sister Josie Shaw, and she delivered just gobs of babies in the Nation of Islam. A lot of my friends, she delivered their babies. So and we need to know these things, and not that we're trying to hold it over on anybody's head. We just, if you know where you came from, you won't know where you're going. So and I wanted to know. I wanted to know.
Yeah, me too. I love that. And Sister Iola, of course, is the author of Growing Up Muslim and the Journey Continues. And she also has a chapter in a book called At Their Feet, which is sitting at the feet of the Black Muslim elders. We interviewed a number of elders from across the United States, and she has a chapter that is going to be coming out in that book as well. And so I want to get into this transition, because your family came into the Nation of Islam. And as some people are aware, many people transitioned from the Nation of Islam into what we call it Sunni Islam, the worldwide Sunni Islam. Many people stayed. Your family transitioned over. Can you talk to us a little bit about like that transition and what that looked like and what it means? Like, because here's what like, if you, like, your father, right, your mother came into the nation with, they were like gung-ho strong. They closed down one of their businesses because they believed in this doctrine so much that they literally closed down one of their business. They changed their entire life. And then they're living in that doctrine, and then there comes a point where they make a shift and change into a different direction within, I guess, the family, but a different direction. And I'm just curious as to how that came about.
You know, my dad kind of talks about that, but you know, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed away, and it was the convention. Of course, I didn't go to the convention, but they had a hookup so that you could go and listen. And all of my life, I had heard that Wallace would take over, you know.
His
So
son.
yes, the Elijah Muhammad's son, Wallace Muhammad, that he would kind of take over. I heard it all my life. Matter of fact, he was like a rock star when you would go to the conventions in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So when and it's unbelievable that we were totally shocked when Elijah Muhammad passed away. Because I think it was 75.
Mm-hmm.
It was 75. And in our minds, he was not going to die. You know, he was not going to die. He was going to be our leader. But when it happened, the transition was uneventful. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people switched over. Well, no, they start following Wallace. And then more and more and more, he was leading us to worldwide Islam. And my mom and dad jumped on the bandwagon. I mean, they did not have a doubt in their minds.
Mm.
And neither did I. Neither did I, because I knew, and you know, a lot of times Wallace wasn't in the temple. He was out a lot. And so we didn't know what was going on, but I believe that he was preparing himself for this transition. And I thank Allah for my parents, because they kind of guided me along. You know, they guided me along, because back then I had 5 children, 2 jobs. So I wasn't coming beating down the door every day going to the temple. But I watched my parents. I watched my parents. And I can see it to this day when we would go to the temple, because we were learning how to pray. You know, we'd been sitting down. We weren't turning towards the east to pray, and we weren't, doing the salat correctly. And I can see my dad's face now when he would see me at Juma. And it just brings joy to my heart, because he was happy. You know, he was happy. And now when he was the Nation of Islam, you were saying he changed his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go back a bit, I was talking to one of my cousins, and she was like, and my dad wanted everybody to be a Muslim. So, you know, that didn't go over well with some of your Christian relatives.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because he would be like adamant about it. You know, he wanted to argue about it, and he just wanted, you know, so they were like, I remember when him and my granddad would be arguing, we didn't know we knew that what they were talking about, but it was always, he wanted the best for his people. He wanted the best for his people. And I want the best for mine. I want the best for mine.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So those of you who are just joining us, we're speaking with Sister Iola Ameedah Corbett, who is the author of Growing Up Muslim and The Journey Continues. So you'll be able to pick up her book on this Saturday. Actually, we want you to buy it this Saturday on our bestseller day, September 25th. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a live broadcast, a world premiere, where we'll interview all of the audience, all of the authors, and also have some prizes. So those of you who want to join and have some prizes, we should put one of your bean pies in there. That would be hot. That would be hot. Wait, talk to us about food for a moment, because let me tell y'all, I got COVID. Was it when I had COVID, or was it when I was like, I had the flu or something? I was sick, whatever. I was sick. And I remember I posted like, I don't know what I posted. I think I just posted that I was sick. And then literally, it was like 5 minutes later, it was like 5 minutes later, a little angel came and she brought some soup and she brought some bean pie. And I'll tell you, that bean soup and that bean pie was like the best thing ever. And I am extremely picky when it comes to bean pie. Like, I don't
Me
like
too.
all bean pies at all. People
Me
put
neither.
too much nutmeg, and I be getting mad. Like, don't put all that nutmeg in there. Anyway, I'm so picky, when it comes to my bean pie. But hers was like dynamite. It was absolutely perfect. So thank you, Sister Iola.
Yay,
But
yay.
talk to us about the food, because you said like there were certain things that you used to eat all the time, and I'm looking at you, and I'm like, dang, I want to be her. Like, like, what did you eat? What's your regimen?
I know when I was growing up and my mom was a cook, we ate bean pie. I mean, we ate bean soup every day. Every day before dinner, we would eat bean soup. And we had my mom, I ate a lot of vegetables. You'd have this little, a portion of meat, but mainly it was a lot of vegetables. And by the time you ate the bean soup, you were full when it came to time to eat your dinner. And I was spoiled because I worked in the restaurant, so I had a pick of everything that I really wanted to eat. And Sister Annie Islam, she made the bean pies. And I've told people years ago, the bean pies came with meringue on the top. That's how she would bring it to us. And people today was like, I want no meringue. But that's how it was. She made all her pies had meringue on the top. So the bean pie had the meringue on the top. And we sold a lot of bean pie. So I tried to critique her pie as close as I could, because it's a bean pie. It's not an egg pie or,
Right.
So I'm picky about bean pie too. I'm picky.
Is your recipe secret, or do you share your recipe?
Oh no, I'll share it. It used to be that I didn't want to give it to anybody, but I was like, why? I don't want it to die with me,
I know a lot of little ladies. They said there's one lady, I won't say where because that would be giving it away. But there's a lady that like makes a lot of bean pies, and she refuses to give her bean pie recipe up. And she was like, no, I'm gonna go with her.
We're not going to be here forever. So some of the children and their mothers, they need to know how to make bean pie and bean soup, because bean soup is a staple. It is a staple. And if I could digress just a little bit, you were talking about to Sister Basila about a budget.
Yes.
And when I was listening to her, I was like, when I grew up, some of our food was a budget, because we didn't eat all the stuff that they're eating now. My son told me the other day, he said, we ate Cheerios, Rice Krispies, and cornflakes. Nothing was sweet in them. Nothing. Because that's what I like. So that's what they ate. So sometimes the bean soup, it will really cut your budget. That's true.
Now I see what you're saying. What you're saying is that like certain foods you can make stretch and be able to, because a pot of bean soup, how much does it cost to make?
Not a lot. The beans are probably a lot more expensive than they used to be, but you can get a 2-pound bag of beans for less than $2.
Yeah, so you can make
a lot of bean soup with that.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, so it's economical and smart. But what were some of the other like dietary things that you all had growing up?
Well, we didn't eat greens. I didn't eat potatoes. So I don't know if we even ate macaroni and cheese. It was a lot of fish, lots of fish, whiting fish, and I didn't like whiting fish, so we had to come up with something else for me. Yeah. And then it was no halal places around.
Yeah.
So my mom would go to the Eastern Market and she would get kosher food to sell in our restaurant, because we didn't know anything about halal back then. So that's what we did. So just all of the education to get us where we are today. That's why we need to know. We need to know those things. We need to know those things.
One of the other things people often have questions about was this notion of like, the MDT, Muslim Girls Training, because you all had like gender specific classes and things that you would learn how to, well, I don't really know. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about MGT and some of the things that you all learned?
It was the Muslim Girl Training and General Civilization class. So we, I still got my MGT pen.
Do you?
Yes, I do. I do. And so it was, you would go in there and you would cook. They would tell you how to, how you treat your husbands. And most of us were housewives. They were housewives. A lot of them did not work. Of course, my mom worked, but a lot of them, they were in the house. They were in the house and they were cooking and they were sewing. And I learned how to sew, and my mom taught me how to cook. But yeah, it was, and then we learned how to carry yourself. And then they had a weight thing where you shouldn't get over a certain amount of weight.
But I heard that. Somebody said they used to come and be like, you gotta lose that. I wish they would come now.
Yeah. I'm telling you, and a lot of it is our diet. A lot of it is our Yeah.
Wow. All right. So we're going to open up for Q&A. So if anyone has, I see a couple of questions, so I'll bring these in. But Sister Iola, you're going to put a bean pie into the
I'll put a bean pie in.
Okay. So if you're not in Michigan, I don't know how you're going to get it.
I know. I'll make a bean pie.
But maybe I've asked Sister Viola, maybe if you all will put into the chat if you would like this or not. So I asked Sister Iola if she would have a live cooking day where everybody can get the ingredients. She'll give us out the ingredients of what we need to get, and then we can make it with her, live virtually. We can make either bean soup or the bean pie or whatever live virtually. So if you all would like that, put it into the comments so that, maybe if you ask for it, she might, say yes. All right. So let's see. Okay, so Sister Fatima, hello. She says, so much history. Thank you for educating us and preserving this part of our history. You're welcome. Brother Hamim says, did you get Malcolm X's autograph?
No. And or not a picture. It was no cell phones back then. And I had a picture of him that I really didn't even know that he was on the picture until my daughter brought it up to me, and somebody stole my picture. It was him and his brother Wilford, and they were in my mom's restaurant. But it's just ingrained in. I can see him now, when I was 10 years old, walking past the window, coming in our restaurant, and I was at the jukebox. I was at the jukebox. I was like, oh my God, here is this man coming through, and I'm putting my money in the jukebox. But he didn't judge me.
He liked that music too.
Yes, I did.
So, okay, so Sister Kina said, yes, a live cooking day. That would be amazing. This Brother Khalil Hayden, no, don't share the sauce. We're going to share the sauce. Okay, so here's a question. What did the Muslim men and women learn about marriage and family relationships? Because I remember my mom talking about they used to line up the, I don't know if that was the nation or when she came in, but they would line up the brothers and then the sisters would pick who they were going to marry. I don't know if that was in your experience or not, but what did you learn about Muslim men and women in marriage and family relationships?
Well, I should have picked somebody like my dad, but I didn't, because they were family men. They took care of the family. They respected the sisters. And, when I was growing up, it was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no. This day I try to do that. But yeah, they respected each other. They respected each other. And it wasn't where, where it was that they were separated and all that kind of stuff, because we weren't. Just when we came in to, to sit down at the temple, but we mingled with each other. We mingled with each other. And so you got to know who the brother was, hopefully, and I saw a lot of marriages now, a lot of marriages in the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping a lot of them were some that I see now were some happy marriages. And there wasn't a lot of money, it wasn't like they gave you anything, maybe a ring, but yeah, and it was more love. It was more love because we were a very close knit community in the Nation of Islam. We were very close in the Nation of Islam.
Did you
And
see any differences between what you saw in the nation and then when you all transitioned over?
not immediately, because the only thing that changed that I saw was we were doing worldwide Islam. And the Imam, he didn't change a lot of stuff as far as us getting together, not that I know, as far as us getting together and be married, because he was married a bunch of times. But yeah, it seems like it was just respect. Respect, and it seems like brothers would walk you to your car and open the door for you, and you didn't carry nothing heavy, so, and a lot of times I don't see that anymore. I don't see that, and I'm sure it's some that do, but
Yeah, the chivalry and the I guess the general care for everyone in the community.
That's what it was.
Generally care, whether you knew them really or not.
Yeah, and I could see that from my dad. I'm telling you, I read his book and I understand so many things about him because he loved Allah. He loved being in the Nation of Islam, but when it was time to switch, he switched. He loved Allah, he loved my mom, and he loved his family, and he loved his relatives. And that's the way, and he loved his community, and that's the way he lived his life.
Oh, wow, this makes me tear up because when I think about these people, don't judge me. But when I think about these people and I think about like the sacrifices and I think about the deep sense of God lovingness that they had, like these were some real serious people. Like this is not easy to change your entire life, like everything that you've known, change that and then come into a whole new place and then sacrifice so much. I mean, he shut down businesses and everything to go for this new understanding, this new way of life. And I think about how they really sacrifice day in and day out, in order to live this new life and establish it and then be able to pass it over to their children. And to me, it's a semi-miracle in and of itself, that you have all of these people. And, we often talk about the nation like cleaning people up, right? Like they would take people like, that they were doing some all kind of rock gut stuff, as the father says, out there on the street, lost found, and cleaned them up and gave them a whole new identity.
Yes. And my dad changed his life twice, completely. But all praise is due to Allah. I have to say that for everything.
Okay, so Zarina Nadir, who is another one of our power authors, we will interview her tomorrow. Attorney Zarina Nadir, author of Legally Savvy, asks, what characteristics of your parents do you think contributed to them transitioning to the worldwide Islam? Like, was it something about them? Like, what type of, did they have any special characteristics that you think contributed to them changing over?
I think that my mom went to that Savior's Day convention when Wallace became the leader, and they had so much respect for him and what he was transitioning us into, that that's what they wanted to be Muslims under the Elijah Muhammad. Then they wanted to be Muslims under Wallace. But then they just wanted to be Muslims. They wanted to be Muslims, and they were proud to be Muslims. You know, they were proud to be Muslims. And I respect them for that. I respect them for that.
I love it.
And then it was no cleanup for my dad. You know, he just jumped right in. He didn't have nothing to do. He dyed his hair, but that was about the only thing he did.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the people I know, they had to get cleaned up.
Yeah.
All right, Sister Basila, she says, congratulations, Sister Iola. There is so much rich history in your story, and I can't wait to read your book. So all of you all who are just joining us, you can get Sister Iola's book, Growing Up Muslim, and the journey continues on this Saturday on our bestseller day, Saturday, September 25th. We're going to invite you all to join us live. We'll be live on the Power Author, on the Book Power Facebook page, as well as YouTube. We'll be on a number of Facebook pages, and you're going to hear from all 8 women who are releasing their books. These women sacrificed during the pandemic to write their books, and I'm so excited for them. So it's September 25th, which is this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, converted to your own time zone. All right, so let's see. Last question is from Zarina. So what do you think new Muslims arriving to the U.S. could learn from your story?
I think they need, because a lot of them want to know what happened back then. You know, a lot of them want to know. And I think that they would appreciate the struggles from the 50s to past Wallace Muhammad's time, because he made it convenient for a lot of them coming here that were Muslims, you know, because you'd ask somebody, well, what's your name? Mo. He made it fashionable to say, my name is Mohammed, and be proud of it. And he just made the journey easy for them. And they need to seek out the knowledge and act accordingly.
Bam. Seek out the knowledge and act accordingly. All right. So this has been an amazing entryway into your book, Growing Up Muslim. I am so pleased and proud of you, and just ecstatic. You have really been a beautiful addition to my life. You've taught me a lot of different things just by watching you go through the process. So I'm really pleased and thankful that I had the opportunity to learn from you while you were getting your book out. So those of you who want to connect with Sister Iola, you can find her on Facebook. How would you like people to connect with you post-interview and when they're getting your book?
They can reach out to me on Facebook or private message me, that Iola EC.
Iola EC on Facebook. Yes, Iola EC on Facebook. So on this Saturday, you all, we want you to come back on Saturday. We will be having our Power Author World Release Graduation Day this Saturday. 8 women wrote books during the pandemic, and they are all releasing their books on this Saturday, September 25th. And it's really important, you all. We are indie publishers, indie producers, and you know that we do not have the same budgets that Michelle Obama, Oprah, Tony Robbins, all these people have. We have to do things through the power of the people. And just like Sister Iola said, they were able to accomplish so many things during their time growing up the community without a lot of money. But they did it with heart, and they did it with soul, and they did it with effort. So we're going to do the same ththing with launching their books out into the world. So we want you all to buy their books on the 25th. Buy a copy for somebody else. Don't be stingy. You know, buy it for you and then give a gift, right? Buy something for somebody else. But you're creating a library of stories that are not often captured and are oftentimes put onto the fringes. And as we've seen already, I opened today talking about the books that have been banned now, 2021, September. They're banning books that are by types of authors like what we're putting out. So we have to own our own story, right? What is the African proverb? It says, until the lion learns how to write its own story, the tales will always glorify the hunter. So you have to tell your own story. You have to put your own message down so that you own the narrative. So, Sister Iola, I want to thank you. We will see you again on this Saturday, September 25th. And when are we going to have that live cooking day? That live.
We'll have to talk about it because I'm game. I'm game.
I'm down for that. Sister Iola, any last words?
I would just like to thank you because this journey of writing this book has been awesome. And my fellow people that's in our class, that's all graduating and putting their books out, I have enjoyed it so much. I have enjoyed it so much. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yay. All right. Have a good evening, everyone.